What's going on, parents? Welcome back to Teenager Tuesday. My name's Savannah. I am the student pastor at the Frisco West campus, and today we have someone very special. Who do we got here in the studio with me today?
Wow, that's a very kind introduction. My name is Beall. I am the student director at our Frisco East campus, so I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, this week we are starting off a brand new 4-week series. We're going to dive into a topic maybe a little bit more sensitive for younger ears. We're going to be discussing body image and how to talk about it with your teens through a biblical perspective. Sometimes I hear parents and teens listen together, and we love that and discuss it. Personally, I would suggest maybe, just for this series, you listen to it first on your own and discern maybe this is something you want them to also listen to, or you just take what we talk about here and discuss it directly with them.
Yeah, I think with that, everyone, no matter who you are, has had some kind of experience or memory being a teenager, not quite feeling at home in your body at times.
Yeah.
It's a weird time for so many reasons, right? Being a teenager, there's just so many awkward phases of life. But now as a parent or caring adult in a teen's life, sometimes these changes feel gradual, or it's like they grew like 5 inches overnight.
Right.
I know that was me, when I was going into 8th grade, I'm like, somehow I'm 4'11" to 5'4".
Yeah, it's just like puberty, all those kinds of things. And today, in today's episode, we want to talk specifically just kind of the landscape of where teenagers are at, and specifically diving in with young ladies, women. But William, like I said, let's just talk through what do you think some of the things, if you had to guess, what are teens facing in terms of body image? Take one guess. What are some things that you think teens are facing today?
Probably social media would definitely be one.
Huge one.
I would think so about that one. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yes, absolutely. There's, we talked about, puberty, hormonal shifts, are all kind of in that. And then also peer pressure from other friends. I'm sure you've had experiences of you're talking with your friends and you feel comparison because this person has like you said, grown so many inches overnight, but you're still tiny or whatever. But the result of this, it can be a distorted image of their body, right? They can see all of these different things coming at them in their brain. It's not necessarily reflecting what their physical selves are actually like in the real world. And this is actually a disorder called body dysmorphic disorder. You've probably heard body dysmorphia, right?
1000%.
Yeah, and that's actually where this disorder comes from, or it comes from that disorder. There's an incredible resource that we're going to talk through that I found so helpful. It's this really incredible website organization. They help parents and caring adults, youth pastors, whoever, navigate issues teens face. They have this great resource on body image, podcasts, and they actually define body dysmorphic disorder as a disorder that focuses on the body but begins in the mind. It causes fixation on perceived physical flaws. These perceived physical differences make them feel ugly or unattractive. Isn't that crazy?
Oof.
Yeah.
Oof. Yeah. I think that's really interesting for me, just even reading this definition and seeing that and hearing it. But one, I kind of just want to pause for a moment and then, before we talk about that, but just to remind, hey, we are not professional counselors,
right? Not in the slightest.
And so we truly we look at resources that we find helpful for us and be oh my gosh, this is a good example, or this is a really good definition of something that we like, or something that we've read or seen or watched that we feel has been helpful. But I think even in just relation to body dysmorphic disorder, we can see that this isn't just about food,
right,
or just not eating, right? It's really something that's going on in their mind.
Yeah. It's not just, my teen's not eating enough, or they're eating too much, or they're working out too much, or maybe I have some concerns about this or that, but it is something that it really begins in their mind, and it applies to both genders. It's not just guys or girls. So with that in mind, I want to specifically talk today about teen girls, right? Just what they're facing, some of the things that maybe we already, you as a parent, you're already aware of. I'm sure you are, especially if you're a woman and you've grown up. Just a lot of the messaging that teen girls get online specifically. I know for me, like from what I've seen, just even going through my own Instagram, we see the messaging. They're like, it's like counting calories or restrictive eating or diet culture, images of like the ideal body. There is just so much messaging out there. Not only like they get online and then it's like in their conversations and how they talk about each other and comparison, like you're not skinny enough or you're too skinny or you have to be more lean or toned and you have to look like this person. I don't know, remember one time, my brother, his girlfriend and I were all talking. We were like joking about like, how do we reset our Instagram algorithms?
Yeah.
And cause it was just like, oh, there's just all this crazy stuff on there that we don't even want to see. And my brother's girlfriend and I, we joked, it was like, it's even if we reset it, like as soon as the internet, it feels like finds out you're a woman, it's like, it's automatically going to send you those kinds of messages, whether you want to or not, like how to work out to look like this person or what I eat in a day. And so there's just, that is like a huge thing that I've seen even for myself. And I think a huge thing that teenagers, especially teen girls, like they see that all the time. Like that's just consistently the messages they're being fed. And like, and it's just everywhere. It doesn't feel like they can escape it.
Yeah. So what's like the action or behavior for teens when they see stuff like this on social media or they're hearing about it from their friends?
Yeah. A lot of things that we've seen, like we talked about earlier, like their brains are still forming. Yeah. They're just absorbing all of this and they're trying to discern like, what do I do with this? Like, am I supposed to like eat like this so I can look like this? Am I supposed to work out this much, right? What's true? What's right? And they're getting these subliminal messages that essentially like the messages that the way that they look right now is not enough. It's not good enough. It needs to look a certain way in order to be attractive, or this is actually how they end up having a distorted view of their body. Like that's how students get dysmorphia, body dysmorphia, or even adults, whoever it is. And there's so many ways that this plays out for teens. And one of the ways that we see that is like through eating disorders. And that's like kind of on the rise, unfortunately, especially for a lot of teen girls. And some of those disorders include like anorexia nervosa, which is, I mean, you've heard of some being anorexic. That's like they avoid food at all costs. They're not just restrictive, but like how long can I go without eating? And I've heard, unfortunately, students like struggling with things like this, or they've gone so many days and it's almost like a achievement if the longer they go, right? There's bulimia, so it's like they eat and then usually that results in like vomiting whatever they've eaten, purging, yes. Binge eating, which is like they eat, they just keep eating even if they're full or if they're not hungry, but it's just like constant intake because they're stressed or sad, emotional eating, right? And then like we also see like avoidant restrictive eating, and sometimes that's a result of food allergies, or they're nervous about this thing is going to make me sick, or I've even seen people like they don't want to eat certain things because of afraid of choking or vomiting, or like just avoidant at all costs of certain things. And so something to note too about this is like it's not always just about food necessarily, but like we talked about, sometimes it's a result of like bullying or stress or like some kind of traumatic event that sometimes can trigger these things, like a breakup or a loss, like bullying. And so maybe you start to notice that your daughter, your niece, your granddaughter, whoever it is in your life, like maybe you start to notice some of these changes or something big that happens in their life. Like it can possibly be traced to something like a big traumatic event, or sometimes even small things over time, rather than just an initial like this, I have to look a certain way, but it could be a result of something else. And so there is so much research and resources, like I mentioned. Access is a great one. They have so many great tools for this. And so that's just kind of like the general, hey, here's what some of these teen girls are facing. And so next week, we're actually going to dive into how do we have a conversation? Like you notice that your daughter or somebody in your life, a teen girl, is struggling. Like how do you approach that conversation on this topic? But William, like I always think it's so good to leave with like a practical, like here is your next step as a parent or a caring adult in a teen's life. So like what would be like a good casual, like I want to talk about this, maybe I don't know how, or I'm trying to figure out where my daughter daughter or my niece, granddaughter, whoever that is at, like, what's like a dip your toe in the water kind of question to maybe start the conversation, you know? Maybe it's like, I don't really know, but I want to kind of see where they're at, but what's something that without like, to just start to like break the ice, like what is a good question that comes to your mind?
Yeah, I think a good question, might be, have you ever seen something online that made you think differently about your own body or how you look?
Yeah.
I think starting there and just having an open dialogue and just listening without judgment.
Yeah.
One is so key to conversations like this.
Yeah.
But I think that very much can start off a really good, healthy conversation about your teen's body image of themselves.
Yeah.
So
I think that's great. I love that so much. Yeah. That's a great question.
Well, parents, we are signing off. You can do this. You're not alone. God is with you, and so are we.